Oy vey. I'm an easy cry, so be careful. Rick, thank you for your kind words and for all your efforts as my dinner co-chair. I'm so fortunate to have called you my best friend and business partner for 25 years, 24, 25. A heartfelt appreciation to my other co-chairs, Bill and Debbie Lewin, our dear friends. All of you were so giving of your time and resources to make this dinner a resounding success. To Lonnie, Shoshana, and Sally, thank you for your tireless dedication to the truly courageous work of the ADL, and I'm grateful to you for this evening's honor. As many of you know and have heard earlier, the ADL is the premier civil rights and human relations agency in our nation. The ADL's mission has been unaltered for 102 years to secure justice and fair treatment to all Americans alike and to put an end forever to unjust and unfair discrimination. This mission shines through in the ADL's entire body of work. During World War II, the ADL uncovered Nazi supporters and hate groups, and for the last 70 years, the FBI has continued to turn to the ADL for its expertise in this area. In 1954, ADL influenced the courts in favor of school desegregation in the landmark case Brown v. Board of Education. And in 1993, following the World Trade Center bombing, the ADL worked closely with Congress to ban fundraising and support for foreign terrorist organizations. Now, what's really amazing is that at that same time, the ADL publicly condemned the rampant discrimination against Arabs and Muslims that was happening in our society. It is this delicate balance of security versus civil liberties that the ADL has truly perfected. My own path has been so different from the lives of so many Jews and non-Jews that have been denied opportunity based on their faith, race, or sexual orientation. I truly consider myself blessed to have lived an amazing life. I can think of very few instances in which I personally have been affected by anti-Semitism. I grew up in idyllic suburban St. Louis and had the good fortune to attend fine public schools with a rich mix of religious diversity. Upon graduation from Vanderbilt, I moved to Chicago and began a 30-year and counting career at Studley with smart, hardworking partners who are loyal friends and dedicated to the company and our clients. And I'm so happy that many of you are here tonight to support this. When I think back on the influences that have shaped my life, I have to give credit to my grandfather, Louis Goodman. None of my good fortune would have been possible without his hard work. More importantly, it was his personal struggle for freedom that instilled in me an inherent empathy for the silenced and the oppressed. See, I'm the youngest of 5 children, and when I was 6 years old, my father died suddenly. My grandmother had passed a few months earlier. So shortly after my father's death, my 85-year-old grandfather moved into our home. Louis Goodman had immigrated to Ellis Island in 1891 at the age of 8. He was a penniless immigrant from Lithuania. But in 1921, with hard work and integrity, he was able to start a necktie manufacturing business. The company successfully operated under family ownership for over 80 years and within just a few blocks of its original location in downtown St. Louis. My grandfather was a leader among the Jewish community of St. Louis. He was the president of our synagogue for 25 continuous years, and a long-standing trustee and leading fundraiser for Israel Bonds, a key contributor to the development of the State of Israel. He was an early Zionist, and he traveled to Palestine and Israel on numerous occasions. I have with me this evening his passport showing the trips he and my grandmother made to Palestine dating back to 1929. He knew that he was blessed to have made his way safely to America, and he chose to give back generously in appreciation of the opportunities that he was provided. Without the opportunity to come to America, my grandfather and his family had only 2 options: to denounce their Judaism and convert to Russian Orthodox, or to maintain their Jewish identity in Lithuania and perish at the hands of the Russian czars. When my grandfather moved into our house in 1968, I received a living, breathing connection to this history. At the same time, my incredible mother, Jerry, faced the challenges of single-handedly raising 5 children between the ages of 6 and 18. During the 1960s and 70s, a tumultuous period in both our families and our nation's history, my mother taught us the importance of justice and the dangers of bigotry. My mother and grandfather responded to their losses with an appreciation for what they had. Their dignity and faith instilled in me and my sisters the values of acceptance, modesty, and humility. Reflecting upon my family's past, my strong connection to the ADL makes perfect sense. As I stand here tonight, 125 years after my grandfather fled persecution in Lithuania, I wish that we were celebrating the end of anti-Semitism and all forms of religious and racial bigotry. Sadly, we're not. And as a result, the ADL's work is not over. The past 2 years have seen heightened extremism as individuals at home and abroad respond to social upheaval with hate, violence, and terror. In the spring of 14, a white supremacist and former KKK leader opened fire on a Jewish community center and retirement home in Kansas, leaving 3 dead. 2015 began with the massacres at Charlie Hebdo and culminated in last month's horrific attacks in Paris and Beirut. Across the world, extremists are justifying senseless killing with radical ideology that targets victims based on their religion, race, and Western ideals. As we all know, online propaganda and social media are playing critical roles in the recruitment and radicalization process. Recognizing this growing risk, the ADL's Center for Extremism is collaborating with law enforcement, the tech industry, and community groups to report on perpetrators and to develop plans to combat these threats. This is what the ADL represents. Whether it be fighting against anti-Semitism, religious discrimination, and all forms of bigotry and hate, or the defense of LGBT rights, when we stand behind the ADL, we stand behind our democratic ideals and the protection of our civil rights for all. To Mark Hoppe, congratulations on your honor tonight, and thank you so much for all the wonderful work you do in our communities. I'm so thankful to my loving sisters, Zelda and Renee, and the rest of my family who traveled to share this evening with us. Julie, for 30 years, you've uplifted me with your love, support, and humor, which I didn't have much of tonight. And to my children, Annie and Will, you've inspired me with your social activism and your artistic expression. To all of our friends here tonight, I'm humbled by this honor, and I thank you for your meaningful support of the ADL. May 2016 bring you peace and blessings.